हरि ओम। ओम श्री गणेशाय नमः। ओम श्री हिरण्यगर्भाय नमः। ओम श्री महाविष्णवे नमः। ओम श्री महादेवाय नमः। ओम श्री महादुर्गायै नमः। ओम श्री राम रामाय नमः। ओम श्री सद्गुरवे नमः। ओम सहनाववतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ओम शांति शांति शांतिः। ओम गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णुः गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुरेव परब्रह्म तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। समस्तजनकल्याणे निरतं करुणामयं नमामि चिन्मयं देवं सद्गुरुं ब्रह्मविद्वरं। भवानी शङ्करौ वन्दे श्रद्धाविश्वासरूपिणौ याभ्यां विना न पश्यन्ति सिद्धाः स्वान्तस्तमीश्वरम्। वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुं। रामाय रामभद्राय रामचन्द्राय वेदसे रघुनाथाय नाथाय सीतायाः पतये नमः। बुद्धिर्बलं यशोधैर्यं निर्भयत्वमरोगता अजाड्यं वाक्पटुत्वं च हनुमत्स्मरणात् भवेत्। शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः। श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानामालयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादशङ्करं लोकशङ्करम्। सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। ॐ नमः शिवाय 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 ॐ नमः शिवाय। नमः पार्वती पतये। हर हर महादेव। Hari Om, Hari Om. We have seen 14 chapters of Bhagavad Gita in this 190 days. So let us now do a Simhavalokan before we begin the 15th chapter. We will look back just as a lion when he walks in the forest. At every distance, certain distance, he stops and looks behind to see how far he has walked. Similarly, while studying the Shastra, we should now and then look behind and see what we have studied, because we should not forget what we have studied before. So briefly I will go through all that we have seen, the main points. So Bhagavad Gita is the essence of the Vedas. So study of the Bhagavad Gita itself is the study of the Vedas. But why should we study the Bhagavad Gita? Bhagavad Gita gives us the knowledge of our own self. So who says we don't know ourselves? Why should we gain knowledge of ourself? Actually, if we analyze our experiences, we will find that we really don't know ourselves. And this not knowing ourselves is the cause for all our suffering. So if we want to become free of sufferings, which everyone wants to become free of, we should know ourselves. Because that is the only solution. Because our nature is of Ananda. We are Satchid Ananda Swarupa. So once we realize that I am Ananda Swarupa, that I am infinite bliss, and that bliss which is never changing, never destroyed, doesn't get affected by anything. Once I realize this and I gain that experience of my own self, thereafter there is no suffering for me ever. So in order to recognize myself, I need support, need help that is given to us by our Shastra. So when I see myself experiencing this world, seeing, hearing, tasting, touching this world, thinking about the world, feeling the world. But if I analyze deeply, I come to know that the world is different from me, and the instrument through which I see and experience the world, they are also different from me. The eyes, the ears, the nose, through them only I see the world. When I use the eyes, I can see When I use the ears, I can hear. When I am seeing, I am not hearing. When I am hearing, I am not tasting. When I am feeling, I am not thinking. So I am using each of these instruments separately and experiencing this world. So I, the one who is experiencing, is definitely different from the instruments. I not only experience myself in the waking, but I also experience myself in the dream, experiencing the dream world. When I am dreaming, I am not awake. When I am awake, I am not dreaming. When I am not dreaming and awake, I am asleep. But I remain constant in all the three states of experiences. So who exactly is this I? Is not known. That I am experienced along with my body and the senses in the waking. I experience myself along with my mind in my dream. And I experience myself separated from my body and mind in deep sleep. But who is that I, separate from the body, from the mind, from the world, is not known. Only its existence is known, its nature is not known. So the Shastra says you know thyself, because not knowing yourself is the cause for all your suffering. So this cause for our suffering as avidya is presented in the first chapter of Gita. That Arjuna was ignorant of his own self, and because of this ignorance he assumed himself to be a Kshatriya, a human being, interacting with his own relatives, his friends, experiencing the joys and sorrows, which caused a lot of pain and suffering to him. So Bhagavan taught him from the second chapter onwards that you don't have to grieve. Ashochananvashochastvam prajnavadanscha bhashase. You are grieving, though you are talking like a wise person, but you are grieving like a foolish person. The wise people don't grieve. Those who recognize their own self, they become free of all grief. Shokam tarati atmavit. A self-realized person becomes free of all grief. So don't grieve. Arjuna asked, how can I not grieve? I will be killing everyone and everyone will die. Bhagavan says that self never dies. And body constantly changes. You cannot stop it from changing. But that self, that Atma, you never die. You are neither born nor do you die. Na jayate mriyate va kadachit nayam bhutva bhavita vana bhuyaha. Also, you cannot be cut, you cannot be destroyed by any means. You are that immortal, imperishable, supreme self, that Atma. The body is just like a cloth. So taking birth is like wearing a new dress, and dying is like removing one dress. So vasansi jirnani yatha vihaya tatha sharirani vihaya jirnani anyani sanyati navani dehi. So, hey Arjuna, you are grieving unnecessarily. Recognize yourself, realize yourself. Because one who realizes themselves become free of all the bondage, become free of all suffering. They become Jivan Mukta. They are the Sthita Prajna. They become free of all their desires because desires make no sense for them. Prajahati yada kaman sarvan partha manogatan atmannevatmana tushtaha sthita prajnastaduchyate. They are supremely blissful in their own self. So there is no need for any desire. So all desires disappear from their mind. So Bhagavan described the Sthita Prajna in detail in the second chapter and told Arjuna that you gain that realization and become a Jivan Mukta. And as a Jivan Mukta, you live in this world. If you have to fight this war as a Jivan Mukta. Don't cry, weep and be miserable. Live as an enlightened person in this world, like Janak Maharaj. So Arjuna asked Bhagavan that if ultimately we have to know ourselves, then what is the use of actions? What is the use of karma? Why not just drop all karma and focus on knowing ourselves? Bhagavan says that is not possible immediately. When the mind is filled with lot of desires, when the ignorance is very strong, then it is not possible to drop all karmas and gain this knowledge and meditate and gain abundance. Just by renouncing karma, not doing karma, you will not attain that supreme result. So you have to perform karma in the beginning so that your mind becomes pure, your intellect becomes pure, you become fit to gain that knowledge. So Bhagavan taught Arjuna the path of Karma Yoga. That you first recognize the duties based on your body and the mind. You are born as a Kshatriya, Brahmana, Vaishya, Shudra, Stri, Purusha. And you have your own age, and so depending on all this, you have your duties in this world. So fulfill those duties, dedicating them to Ishvara. So as you do this, your mind will start becoming pure and you will be able to live in this world, gaining whatever progress on your spiritual path. And your worldly duties will also be fulfilled. Thereafter, you learn to do some upasana and gain that knowledge. For gaining that knowledge of the self, you have to put forth special effort. And what is the effort? Approach a teacher. You can't just read the books and gain knowledge. You can't gain knowledge through WhatsApp messages and Facebook write-ups. You can't gain knowledge just like that from the news channels and all. You have to approach a teacher. Tad viddhi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya. Approach an enlightened master, do his seva, ask questions, and learn from that master and gain that knowledge of the self. Understand the real nature of your own self. The witness who is there, witnessing all the activities and all the avasthas, that Atma, that Pratyak Atma, Pratyak means inner self. That Kshetrajna means the one who knows this body. Recognize that Atma with the help of the teacher. And once you gain that proper understanding of the self, theoretically, with your buddhi, when you understand who you really are, then you have to meditate to realize it. Because just by understanding it theoretically is not sufficient. You have to meditate and realize it. Like if you gain knowledge of sleep, that doesn't give experience of sleep. You have to sleep to gain the experience of sleep. Similarly, just by gaining knowledge of self, you will not realize it, you will not experience it. So you have to meditate. Because now in the waking, you are totally identified with the body and mind. So however much you know, your experience will be different only. So in order to experience it, you have to transcend your body and mind while awake. That is that meditation, dhyana. While awake itself, you have to transcend your body and mind. So for that, you have to then drop all your activities and just focus on meditation. So that dropping of all the activities is called karma sannyas. So Bhagavan explained that karma sannyas in detail in the 5th chapter. And in the 6th chapter, Bhagavan explained dhyana. He says you now meditate. This is called meditation. Staying in a solitary place, sitting in that asana, focus your attention on the self, withdraw your attention from everything else, and focus your attention on the self. Shanay shanay uparamed buddhya dhriti grihitaya atma sanstham manak kritva na kinchirapi chintayet. Yato yato nischarati manaschanchalamastheram tatastato niyam tada atmani eva vasham nayet. So just focus on that yourself, that atma, that pratyek atma, the inner self, the one which is different from your body, the mind, the intellect. Focus your attention on that self. Don't focus your attention on the world, nor on the body, nor on your breathing, nor on your thinking, nor on your feeling, nor on the ahankar, but on that self. And gain that abidance in that self. And once you gain that abidance in that self, you will not only understand that self and experience that self, but you will also see the presence of self in everything and everyone. So sarva bhutastam atmanam sarva bhutani cha atmani pashyati. That enlightened person will see his own self in all beings, and he will see all beings in his own self. Atmaupamena sarvatra samam pashyati Arjuna sukham va yadi va dukkham sa yogi paramo mataha. Bhagavan says that he is a param yogi who sees the whole world as his own self, looks at all beings as his own self. So thus the path of dhyana and abidance in that self was shown. But then one may mistake that self to be only present in this body. And will think that this body is different, world is different from me, and I am some self present somewhere in the body. So Atma is present in this body, no doubt, but that Atma is not only present in this body, but that Atma is present everywhere. It is not only present everywhere, but it is everything. That Atma is Param Atma. That Atma itself is Param Atma. Paramatma means it is present everywhere, in everyone, and it is everything. So in order to show the greatness of this Atma, Bhagavan then in the 7th chapter reveals that Atma, which is also indicated in the scripture as Brahma. Bhagavan says that Brahma, Atma, has got this twofold Prakriti, and through this twofold Prakriti itself, that Atma itself expresses as this world and as all the beings. So Para and Apara Prakriti, through that only, that Brahma as Ishvara expresses as this world and as all the beings. So the nature of that Param Atma, Ishvara, Brahma was revealed in the 7th chapter. And in the 8th chapter, Bhagavan says that if you don't know this self and don't realize this self, then you will have to keep coming into this samsara again and again, or going through various lokas. So in the 8th chapter, Bhagavan talked about the Dakshinayan Marga, Uttarayan Marga. So after that, some go to some world and again come back. But if one has done Upasana and all, one can go even to higher world like Brahmalok. But when one gains knowledge here and now, we become free here and now itself. So that Paramatma is, that Atma is Paramatma only. So Ishvara, Bhagavan Krishna is speaking here as that Paramatma, as Ishvara. In the 9th chapter he says, I pervade the whole world and everything exists in me. Maya tatamidam sarvam jagad avyakta murtina masthani sarva bhutani. What do you call? Maya tatamidam sarvam jagad avyakta murtina. I only pervade this whole world by my unmanifest form. Everything exists in me. Nachamastani bhutani, but I am not in the world, means I am not changing like the world. And in my Swarupa, the world also is not there. So here, Arjuna, understand me and my relationship with this world. In the 10th chapter, Bhagavan showed his vibhutis to Arjuna, that I am there everywhere. I am in the mountains like Himalayas. I am in the rivers. I am Gangaji in all the rivers. I am the sun, the moon, the sky, the fire, the wind. I am all the beings of the past, present, future. I am everything. And in the 11th chapter, Bhagavan actually showed Arjuna his Vishvarupa. Bhagavan says, see, the whole Vishva is myself. And that myself is your own self. So Atma is not different from this Param Atma. And Param Atma includes everything and everyone. So here, Arjuna, realize yourself through following the proper path. So in the 12th chapter, Bhagavan talked about Vyakta Upasana and Avyakta Upasana, which can help us to realize our own self as that Brahma, as that Param Atma. So Vyakta Upasana was described, and one who realizes Bhagavan's self was indicated as a Jnani Bhakta. And the Lakshanas of this Jnani Bhakta was revealed as Advaishta Sarvabhutana Maitra Karuna Evacha. Thereafter, in the 13th chapter, Bhagwan summarized what he taught in all these other chapters. He said that understand this body, Kshetra, and the knower of this body is Kshetrajna, this Atma is also called Kshetrajna, is the knower of the body, is that Jiva in this body. And thereafter Bhagwan says that I myself am the Kshetrajna in all the bodies. Kshetrajnam chapi mam vidhi sarva kshetreshu bharata. So identity of Kshetrajna and Ishvara and everything is Ishvara was presented in the 13th chapter. Through the knowledge of Kshetra, Kshetrajna and Ishvara, we come to realize that ourself properly and become free of this samsara. So Bhagwan's Prakriti is Trigunatmika, and this Trigunatmika Prakriti, if one doesn't know, if one has got avidya, then one gets caught up in this Trigunatmika Prakriti. The Sattva Gun, Rajogun, Tamagun, they bind us. So what are the nature of these three gunas and how they bind us was discussed in the 14th chapter. And Bhagwan also taught Arjuna that one who recognizes that all karmas are done by Prakriti, Nanyam gunebhya kartaram yada drashtana pashyati, when the drashta come to understand that all these karmas are done by gunas and I am different from these gunas and I am that Supreme Brahma, becomes free. So the Lakshana of a Gunatita person was also described. And finally Bhagwan says, through my bhakti, Jnana Bhakti, one can transcend his gunas and realize the self and become free. Because the self itself is the very pratishtha of everything. The whole world exists in Brahma, and that Brahma is our own self. Everything is supported by our own self. That self itself is the pratishtha of everything. Brahmano hi pratisthaham amrutasya avyayasya cha shashvatasya cha dharmasya sukhasya ekantikasya cha. So I, the self, am the very support of Brahma, support of this world. So in this way, the very essence of the teaching of the Vedas was revealed to Arjuna in this 14 verses, 14 chapters. And the main topic of the main teaching of the Bhagavad Gita is actually over. So the nature of the self, nature of Paramatma, and the identity of self and Paramatma was revealed. That is the main teaching of the Upanishad also. All the Upanishad, they convey Tattvamasi, Aham Brahmasmi, Ayam Atma Brahma. Through all these Mahavakyas, the identity of this Atma and that Param Atma and that Brahma. Okay? So this was conveyed in so many words, so many chapters in detail, and we have also seen in much detail all the shlokas for so many days. 190 days is a lot of days. So we have seen all this in detail. So now what is remaining? So now Bhagwan summarizes all that he said in one chapter itself. See, in the first 6 chapters, Bhagavan talked about the Atma. Thereafter, he focused his attention on that Param Atma. Then he talked about the identity. So now in this chapter, Bhagavan, he puts everything together and presents the whole teaching of Bhagavad Gita as well as the Vedas in 20 verses. That is Bhagavan's style. Bhagavan first tells what he will tell, then he tells it, then he tells what he told. He summarizes the whole thing. So after telling the whole, giving the knowledge in detail, Bhagavan summarizes the whole teaching in this 15th chapter. So 15th chapter is very important and very popular and considered very, the essence here itself, Bhagavan himself tells that it is, he names this 15th chapter as Shastra. Idam Guhyatamam Shastram. So, traditionally also, one chants this chapter every day, at least before taking our meals. We chant this chapter so that the essential teaching of Bhagavad Gita and the Upanishads are remembered every day while living in this world. So it will be good if all of you also, many of you might be knowing it by heart, but otherwise you can learn this by heart and chant it regularly to remember the gist of the teachings of Bhagavad Gita as well as the Vedas. Okay? So this is a very short chapter. Only 20 verses are there. Even in the 12th chapter there are 20 verses. 20 verses. In this chapter also there are 20 verses, but very, very beautiful. So in this chapter Bhagavan describes the whole samsara, this jagat, and our life in this world, the life of all these beings. All this is in experiencing the joys and sorrows. All this is the samsara, which we have to transcend in order to realize our own supreme self. So this samsara is described here as a tree, a peepal tree, Ashwatha Vriksha. The whole samsara is described as a tree with its roots above and the branches below. Its roots indicate that Brahma, Nirgun, Nirakar, Brahma, our own Supreme Self, and the whole tree is the expression of that Brahma. It's very beautiful. The whole tree is an expression of that Brahma. But the thing is that if our focus is on the tree, we miss out seeing the nature of Brahma. If we focus our attention on Brahma, then we can transcend this tree, this samsara. It's like if our attention is on the ornaments, totally focused on the names and forms, then we fail to notice the gold. Though this is not a very clear example, because that gold is also seen with our eyes. But here, when our attention is focused on the world and samsara, we miss out seeing and experiencing Brahma. So in order to experience Brahma, we have to transcend this samsara. We have to cross this jagat. But this jagat is there it helps us to know that Brahma. That Brahma is Nirgun Nirakar. Our self is Nirgun Nirakar. But with the help of this world, we can slowly and steadily transcend it and recognize that Brahma. It's like somebody knows something. We can know what that person knows only when he speaks about it, when he utters, when he says. Then through his words we come to know what he is saying. Just like I am sitting here and giving this pravachan. So it is there in my head. Then I am presenting it with words. And you are catching that words. And through this word you are understanding. Once your understanding happens, you have transcended the words. Then the words are not required for you. But if you have not understood, then you have to take the support of the words. You write down notes and all, no? So you have to read those notes again. But if you have understood what is written, then there is no need to read the notes. You have transcended the notes. Similarly, this world is like the notes, like the words. So through this world, we have to understand Brahma. Once we understand Brahma, we can transcend this world. So in order to know that Brahma, we have to go through this world, go through that samsara. But we should not get attached to the samsara. We should gain vairagya toward this samsara. The more and more we gain vairagya towards samsara, the more and more we are able to transcend it. It's like going to sleep. The more and more you abandon your waking and dream, the more you go into the deep sleep. Similarly, the more I gain vairagya toward this world, the more I go to the source. That is the method. So in order to gain vairagya, and also in order to make us comprehend the relationship of this world and Brahma, the whole thing is presented as a tree, as a people vriksha, as Ashwatha tree. So Shankaracharya ji, he writes in the introduction of this chapter, कि यस्मात् मत अधीनम कर्मिणाम कर्मफलम ज्ञानिनाम च ज्ञानफलम अतो भक्ति योगेन माम ये सेवन्ते ते मत प्रसादात् ज्ञान प्राप्ति क्रमेण गुणातीता मोक्षम गच्छन्ति. It was said in the previous chapter that one can transcend these three gunas through Bhagwan's Ananya Bhakti. It was said कि माम च यो अव्यभिचारेण भक्ति योगेन सेवते सगुणान समतीत्येतान ब्रह्म भूयाय कल्पते. They can transcend these three gunas. So how can we transcend these three gunas? By Bhagwan's bhakti. Because Bhagwan is the giver of the result of karma and upasana and jnana also. Therefore, when we have the devotion for him, we gain the result. So he is the karminam karma phalam jnaninam cha jnana phalam. Therefore, bhakti yogena mam ye sevante. So one who worships and serves Bhagwan through bhakti yoga, then by his grace we gain that knowledge and we can transcend the gunas and gain moksha. So that knowledge we can gain by Bhagwan's kripa, the self-knowledge. That self-knowledge we can gain by our Guru Kripa also. Ishvara alone, by his blessings, manifest as our teacher. So by teacher's grace also we can gain that knowledge. So what is that knowledge, having gained which one gain moksha? That knowledge is presented in this chapter. So kimu vaktavyam atmanaha tattvam eva samyak vijanantah iti ato Bhagwan Arjunena aprishtam atmanaha tattvam vivakshuhu uvacha. So that atma tattvam, having gained which, knowing which we become free of this samsara, that atma tattvam Bhagwan reveals to Arjuna in this chapter without waiting for Arjuna to ask any question. So out of his own compassion, Bhagwan gives the gist of the teaching in this chapter. She is like a loving mother. Bhagwan is like our loving mother. Even though he has given this knowledge, he gives it again and again. Just as a mother gives her son is going abroad to study for further studies or going to some other city to study. So she will keep giving instruction to the son, keep helping in packing the bags and all. ये ले जाना, ये shirt ले जाना, ये pant ले जाना. You take this with you. Don't forget to take this. Put some masala also in your this, and this achar also you can take. And don't eat outside here, there. Be careful. So all sorts of instructions she keeps giving at home. And then she goes to drop him at the railway station. There also, on the way also, she keeps giving instruction. And even when he boards that train, and the train is about to move, even at the last minute she will give some instruction out of her concern, out of her love. So Bhagwan has revealed essential teaching in the previous all these chapters, but out of his great compassion and love, he again tells the essence to Arjuna. Arjuna, remember this. Because Bhagwan wants us to become free of this samsara. He sincerely wants us to become free of this samsara. But we have to put forth effort. We have to take the initiative. Bhagwan by himself will not give us moksha. We have to ask for it. We have to desire it. We have to ask for it. Ask for it means desire it sincerely. Then we gain that moksha. So here let us begin with this chapter. So in the first verse itself, this beautiful tree, samsara vriksha, is described. So Om Shri Paramatmane Namaha. अथ पंचदशोऽध्यायः श्रीभगवानुवाच ऊर्ध्वमूलमधः शाखम् अश्वत्थं प्राहुरव्ययम् Chandamsi yasya parnani yastam veda sa vedavita. Om Shri Paramatmane Namaha. Atha Panchadashodhyaya. This 15th chapter begins here. It's called Purushottama Yoga. And it begins with Bhagwan's words themselves. Here in this chapter, we don't have Arjuna asking any question. Bhagwan himself gives the gist of the teaching. So he says, Shri Bhagavan Vacha. He says, Urdhvamulamadash-shakam ashvattham prahuhu avyayam. Chandamsi yasya parnani yastam vedasa vedavita. He says that there is this tree which is being described by great wise people, and it is also described by in the Upanishads. So what is this tree? He says Ashvattha Vriksha, Ashvattha tree. It is like the peepal tree. So we have this in India, we have this peepal tree. It's everywhere, but we have some special variety in India also. So peepal tree, and from the same family actually comes this banyan tree also, but here Bhagwan is talking about a peepal tree which grows to become a mighty tree. Actually it has got a small seed, that fruit, very small. That fruit is eaten by a bird, then it is thrown out, and then that it germinates to become the huge tree. So all this is very symbolic. Why Bhagwan has chosen this particular tree to describe this whole world. But here the tree is a little different. What is different? It has got its roots up. Urdhva means up. Urdhvamulam, its roots are up. And adhashakam, and its shakhas are below. All the branches are below and the roots are up. Prahuhu is described, this tree. Ashvattha avyayam, this tree is avyayam, it is indestructible, everlasting. See this Ashvattha, the meaning of that term Ashvattha, Ashva means tomorrow. Ashva means which doesn't exist tomorrow. Ashvattha means which doesn't exist tomorrow. But at the same time it is said it is avyayam. What does it mean? That as it is now, it will not be same tomorrow. Means it is constantly changing. That is one of the most fascinating nature of this world, this samsara, that it is constantly changing. That is the most amazing. Every time you look at this world, it is dynamic. It is constantly changing. At no two given time, the world is same. By the time I speak, the whole world has changed. You have been attending this class, by the time you finish attending, the whole world has changed. Not only the world outside, the body has changed, the mind has changed, the indriyas have changed. They constantly change. So it doesn't stay same the next moment. Therefore, this word Ashwatha, the name Ashwatha also interestingly indicate this feature of this world, that it is not stable, it doesn't remain same, constantly changing. Therefore, we have seen before also, so it is called the changing existence. It always exists. Therefore, it is avyaya, imperishable, means always there is this world, either it is in creation or sustenance or dissolution. Even when it gets dissolved, it is there. Potentially, it is there. Just like the ornaments, when they are born, gold is there. I mean, they remain supported by gold. And even when the ornament gets dissolved, potentially it is there in the gold. Similarly, this world, this samsara, is always there. It is eternal. It is beginningless and endless. But it is constantly changing. It is ever changing. It's the very nature of it is to change. Even the subtlest thing, even the light actually doesn't remain at one place. It moves with tremendous speed. Everything changes. So therefore it is called Ashwatha. So Ashwatham Prahuhu Avyayam. But just as a tree is born from a seed, that seed germinates and it slowly grows. So the main trunk comes and so many branches, they come out. And then so many leaves and flowers and fruits. Then the roots are there which goes deeper and deeper into the soil. And this Pipal Vriksha and even the banyan trees, they have the hanging roots also. They come out from the branches and then they also touch the ground and they also enter the soil and they also start supporting the tree. So this urdhva, up, why it is the roots, is indicated as up. That up indicates that source, that Brahma, from where the entire tree has come. It is that urdhva means Brahma. And the Shakti of Brahma, that Maya or Prakriti, is the Moola. So Shakti Yukta Brahma is indicated here as Urdhva Moola. Shakti Yukta Brahma. Brahma spoken of along with Shakti, because when we talk about the world, then we talk about Brahma along with his Shakti. When we don't want to talk about the world, then Brahma, the same Brahma is Nirgun Nirakar. But when you want to talk about world, we talk about the Shakti of Brahma as Maya or Prakriti. So that Maya Prakriti is not different from Brahma, it's Brahma only. Maya is Brahma, Prakriti is Brahma. So it's called Urdhva. Shankaracharya ji writes, Ki Kalataha Sukshmatvat, because it is subtler than even time. That Brahma is subtler than time. Time itself is so subtle, very difficult to catch time. By the time you catch, it is already past. You try to catch the time, it just swiftly goes. Before you know, it becomes the past. You try to catch the time in the present because you have to catch in the present. Past has gone. Past you cannot catch. Future you cannot catch. Future is not come yet. You can catch the time in the present, but by the time you notice the present, it has already become the past. So it's very subtle. But Brahma is subtler than even time. It is subtler than space, but subtler than time also. Therefore, it's kalataha sukshmatvat. Therefore, it's called urdhva, high. Also, karanatvat, since it is the cause of everything. Everything has come from Brahma. Brahma is the ultimate cause of this whole samsara. Therefore, it is called urdhva. Then nityatvat, it is nitya, eternal. And mahatvat, and it is the most, supreme, most glorious. Brahma is most glorious, supreme, therefore it's called urdhva. Mahatvatcha urdhvam uchyate Brahma. But here Brahma along with its Maya, avyakta Maya Shaktimat. What is Maya? This is avyakta Maya Shakti, Bhagwan Shakti, which is avyakta. Bhagwan Shakti cannot be seen, but the expression of his Shakti is seen. Just like when during winter we keep our heater in our room, sometimes you don't see the heat in that heater, but then the whole room gets heated up. Similarly, the Shakti of that Brahma is not seen, but its expression is this world. The expression is seen. So that avyakta Maya Shaktimat, Brahma is the moolam. He is the very root of this entire creation. So from this root, from this Brahma alone, this whole creation has come into being, and it is described as a people vriksha. More about this description we will see in our class tomorrow. So till then, you take care, be happy, safe, peaceful, healthy. Do your work, do your sadhana. Think about what you have heard. Contemplate. Write notes. Read the notes again. Today I had given the gist. We have done the Simhavalokan. So write it down. Read it again. Contemplate. Okay? And we shall meet again tomorrow. Hari Om. Shri Ram Jaya Ram Jaya Jaya Ram. 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 Jaya Jaya Ram. Jaya Jaya Ram. Bali Syavar Ramachandra Bhagwan ki Jai. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om.